My name is Michelle Park, and I'm a teacher here in Corner Brook, Newfoundland. I teach at a senior high school, social studies in French, and I recently took part in an Indigenous studies course here at Grenfell campus of Memorial University. Kelly Butler was the instructor, and it was on Indigenous humanities. What I do is my day job, and this course, it kind of informed each other.
Yeah. Awesome.
I've been a teacher for almost 25 years, which when I say it, it's kind of wow. And I've taught courses in Canadian history and Canadian studies, and of course curricula being what it is and reflecting what it reflects, you always wonder about the gaps and what's left out and how it reflects the students who are in your class and how it reflects, in my case, my own heritage. And so it's always been a question. It's always been, as I teach and this curriculum that I teach, what am I really teaching? Who am I including? Who am I not including? Who's part of the story? Whose story is being told? Mm-hmm. And so this has been brewing for a while, and I like to think of myself as kind of a reflective practitioner as a teacher. And then over the course of this summer, I was doing a for interest course in Mi'kmaq language, also here at Grenfell campus, and that's where I met Kelly. And one of the instructors there mentioned that this Indigenous humanities course would be offered in September, and it was like, I don't know, stars aligned. And so I've been out of the school system as a student for many years, and I registered after much frustrating paperwork, but the course was fantastic because it answered a lot of the questions that I had had about teaching social studies, teaching humanities, teaching Canadians, teaching young Canadians, and it offered some unpleasant truths in some cases, and made me more aware of how little I know, and it was just an incredible experience as a teacher, as a Canadian, as a human being, as an adult learner, and like I said, both my experiences as a teacher and now after doing this course informed each other because I could bring, as a student, my experiences as a teacher and some of the conflicts and questions that I'd had, and yet this course provided me with, like I said, answers, but also questions. And I've been able to, I hope, teach more effectively, teach more inclusively, and with a bigger perspective and awareness. And the resources itself that Kelly provided, the awareness, the framework, the whole paradigm shift, and there's a poster in my classroom that says, it's a meme, and it says, just take these history books and put them to one side because they're only about white European men anyway. And I've had that poster for years, and the students are like, Miss, why do you have that there? This is isn't that a contradiction? And I said, well, you have the curriculum, and you have the curriculum of life, and there's another poster that says, whose stories are being told, whose stories are omitted, and why, and who benefits from their stories being told. So this course, this Indigenous humanities course, provided me with a resource. I could autobiographies, music, all kinds of different academic and pop culture resources that I could literally take back to my classroom, and I could be more effective with 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds and have a more inclusive curriculum, and far better than I had taught in previous years. This one, I think it's accessibility, and I think Kelly did a good job of balancing all the different learners and all their different backgrounds. There was full-time current students, in their early 20s. One of them was my former student. It was kind of bizarre at first. I felt like apologizing to her. It's like, this is totally unlike what we did together 6 years ago or whatever it was. We had people who have been out of, like me and a couple others who have been out of the classroom for a while, others who were doing it for personal interest. So the three levels of, I don't know, it's not levels of engagement, but like the three levels of participation, like community participation, academic credit, or I think there's another one, I'm not even sure. It opened it to such a range of perspectives and life experiences. It was so wonderful. And being able to include via, I don't know what the technology was.
Video remotely.
Conferencing. To be able to include, for example, people in Flat Bay and in Labrador. It was just so, it was so different. But I think we all had our own needs met in the sense that it was an evening session. There was an online, there's a Facebook group, and the classes were posted for people as well. There's even people reading chapters of books because not everyone could access one of the autobiographies that we read. So it was very collaborative and very much a community of learners. Their reactions, their level of participation, their level of connection. I think everyone likes to be able, excuse me, no matter how old we are or who we are, I think we all like to think we're represented. And if you're a student of social studies, for lack of a better word, and if you don't see yourself somewhere, however you identify, if you do not see yourself in September to June, and if there's no reference, no framework, nothing, how can you, what does that do to your identity? What does that do to your connection? What does that tell you about how you're valued? So to me, when a student can say, and even if, they do not identify as European ancestry, or if they do not identify as whatever, if now they can identify that, there's more happening here, and more has happened here than these two groups that have been defined. And it was beyond, and it is beyond those two groups that we hear of so often. So when students can make that connection and they can see themselves and they can tell you, or they can write, or they can express that I see, I understand, I'm there. That's powerful, and that's a little of what you can hope to give.
Yeah. So representation has a big impact on students.
It's huge. Yeah. Especially in the province we're in, and so many of I guess examples and eras that they look at, it seems to be other parts of the country or even other parts of the world that are emphasized. So it's nice to be able to have that representation too. It looks like so many different things. I guess is what it's not. It's not exclusive. It's different ways of representing, different ways of knowing. And I just think back to some of the writings and some of the music and some of the texts that we used in this course that I've been able to use with my students. It shows that there are other ways of value. You can value other ways than the traditional written patriarchy, the white Anglo-Saxon hegemony. Like, it's just so many other ways of appreciating how people have lived, how they've learned, how they've created community, and just by being exposed to this in that original course of last semester, that's, and I'm not as articulate as I'd like to be right now, but it's all of that. It's an inclusive. It's an inclusive approach to those who've been excluded, and their values, ways, attitudes of learning. I know there's a possibility here in at Grand Hill campus, and I think with the Labrador Institute, of continuing either a bachelor's program or a certificate or something in Indigenous studies. I would definitely like to pursue that. Like I said, this has just opened up. Like, now I realize how little I know, so I need to pursue that, and I hope they can continue to offer it in this format. I think it's been, well, from my own experience, it's been a great success, and just the availability and the need, I think, is there as well. Courses like this obviously help better train teachers, myself included, despite the fact I've already, like I said, with a couple decades of experience and many degrees, but this is something that I lack, and so this would be a fantastic part of teacher training. This would be worthwhile for teachers of, grade levels, all grade levels throughout the school system.